All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Here we are on our daily huddle. We love our daily huddle. We set the tone for the rest of the day and for our lives, right? The way that we do something is the way that we do is what we do everything. And the daily huddle gives us a context for us to have a powerful life. So I'm excited and really, really privileged to have to be with you guys in the live studio and also be with you, Sorrel, and be with you, Rose. Sorrel, thank you for doing the Daily Huddle. Get us going.
Oh, thank you for being my partner in causing this, Giovanni. I love you. And I love the audience. Rose, I love you. I can't wait to say just a few words about you to introduce you to the world. As you know, we publish the Daily Huddle on a daily basis, and people all the way from Hawaii, LA, wherever they are, will be listening to you in a few minutes. So thank you for being here, everyone. This is the Daily Huddle, as Giovanni mentioned. We exist for the sole purpose of equipping ourselves and you with what you need to make great decisions and produce great results for yourself, your life, and your business. And today we have one question. What could you do with what you already have? And my very good friend, our expert guest today, Rose Hampton, went from clerk to senior VP of operations for wealth management products at GE Financial Assurance. She did it all with just what she had. And I guarantee you, her journey will inspire you to take stock of what you have, what you already have, and commit to be the contribution you've always wanted to be. So you see, Rose is the founder of a consulting firm and the CEO of that firm called Blueprints for Excellence, LLC. It's a business process management consulting firm based no other place than Denver, North Carolina. North Carolina, not Colorado. Denver, North Carolina. She has the unique ability, my friends, to translate the hopes and dreams of CEOs, business owners, and key executives into the kind of language, processes, and systems that make those dreams tangible and accessible to the teams accountable for delivering results. Now, for 35 years, her talent has fueled consistent performance at Fortune 10 companies. And nowadays, she gives her life and her time and her talent to make people like you and me successful. Her consulting firm is dedicated to small business owners, and her intention today is to transform your dreams into reality. Rose, I'm so honored to have you here. Welcome and good morning.
Oh my goodness. Good morning, Sorrel. Good morning, Giovanni. Good morning, everyone who's on the call this morning, listening to us Facebook Live, I believe, as well. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I was like, who is he talking about? But anyway, yeah, that's my story, and I'm gonna stick with it, and I'm gonna share it with you this morning. And I'm, oh my gosh, I'm moved to be your guest speaker this morning. I've lived a rather remarkable life, and I'm going to share a slice of it with you this morning. That was not my original intent, but let me just jump right in and tell you how this happened. So I've known Sorrel, you know, for quite a few years. I always admired him originally from a distance. And then I ended up doing some work with QM3, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later. And then most recently, Sorrel agreed to co-source the Southeast Wisdom course with me for 2020. And so we've been speaking on a more regular basis. And one morning, Sorrel said, Rose, I would love for you to come and be a speaker on the Daily Huddle. And I was first shy about it a little bit, actually. And then I said, yeah, I'll do that. And he said, okay, good. Send me a headshot and a bio. And I did that. You know, I don't know, maybe this was, 10, 12 days ago. And then I wake up on Saturday morning, like Saturday 3 days ago, right? Saturday morning. And I have an email from Sorrel that says, oh, the headshot that you sent me is not high enough resolution. Send me another one. And here's the, like the tear sheet that the Daily Huddle sends out to its prospective speakers, So send me this. This gives me this list of things, of requirements, to meet, right? To be camera ready, speaker ready for the Daily Huddle. And I freeze. I go, what? He's sending this to me on Saturday morning? Well, turns out that we had a call that morning, a team call that morning, and I say to Sorrel, stay on the phone after the call. You and I got to have a conversation, right? So we have the conversation, and I say to Sorrel, now listen. And just be quiet and listen, because I got to tell you something. When I was 17 going on 18, and I was dating a guy who was 5 years older than I was, I got pregnant and I got married. I was a teen bride. It was a poor choice, and the relationship didn't work very well. He was still a player, right? So one evening, this is like I'm 20. We have 2 toddlers now. And we're having a lively conversation about finances. And he says to me, if you think you can do a better job with money than I can, get a job. And I said, don't dare me. And he said, oh, I dare you. He worked for GE. So he said, I'm going to tell the people in human resources that you're coming in and to give you a job. I said, I'll be there, right? Don't dare me. So really what I had was a lot of nerve and an intention that my 2 little toddler boys be taken care of. So I showed up at GE and they gave me a job. They put me to work, $2 an hour as a level 1 clerk. And I opened envelopes. That was in 1968. In 2002, I lost my oldest child. He was murdered in a domestic dispute. In 2003, I lost my baby daughter to HIV/AIDS. In December, I called the CEO of Human Resources, and I said, I can't come back. I'm emotionally devastated. I need time. And he said, Rose, how long have you been here? I said, 35 years. He said, let me see what I can do. Called me back and said, got a special early retirement option package for you. Would you like to retire? I was a senior vice president in the organization. The last 2 years I was there, I was in the GE Financial Assurance 10K because I was one of the most highly compensated executives in that division. I went from that $2 an hour clerk to an SVP in those 35 years. And I did it with what I already had. And I never saw that more clearly than in my conversations with Sorrel. So I'll get there. I'll tell you about that. So I said to Sorrel, all right. So, where to from here first? I retired. I left Virginia. I was in Virginia. I had to get the hell out of that state. Pardon my scatological language, but it was emotionally depressing for me. So I retired. I built my dream house in North Carolina. I moved here. And with my daughter's 2 children, by the way. So now here I am raising another family. But anyway, I'm in North Carolina. And I say, I'm going to take a few years off to absolutely detox. And then I'm going to do some consulting. And it took a while, because I really had some stuff to work through that, if April were on the call, she'd say, yeah, you were really carrying some emotional weight. But finally in 2011, I said, okay, listen, I need to be with people. I need to solve problems. I'm going to create my consulting practice. So I put together a program and had a conversation with my next door neighbor who owned a manufacturing firm. And I said, hey, Rob, I put together this program for small businesses. I know you have, a factory. I'd love to run it by you, see what you think. So he said, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to show you my factory. Come on down. You'll tour the factory and then we'll hit the conference room, cup of coffee. Tell me about your program. That's what we did. So we're sitting in the conference room. I'm telling about the program. He's there like he's looking at me. He's looking at me. He's looking at me. And he says, I gotta have that. I gotta have that, right? In that moment, he says, write me a proposal. The next day he emailed me back, you're hired. I was just giving him my idea. In 24 hours, I was in business. I didn't have a business card. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a one sheet. I didn't even have a completely refined program. But what I did have was a great background, a really good idea, and the courage to start pitching it, right, to my community, to let them know, hey, maybe there's something here that we can play with. And oh, by the way, and being okay with that it would work or it wouldn't, I could go back to the drawing board, right? So not stuck on what I was up to. So I said, Sorrel, that's how I got into business. My second client was QM3. I was at a meeting with Susan and she was really struggling with something with her business. And I listened, and finally I just said to her, I'm coming. And I just showed up at QM3 and I said, let's play this game. Let's do this exercise together. And I'm going to see if I can't show that to you before we get to the end of this conversation this morning. And that was the beginning of my work with QM3. My third client was my decorator's husband. I called a decorator for some window treatments and we're having a conversation. We get into a conversation about business and I'm explaining some things to her and she said, oh my God, can you please come and help my husband? We have this flooring business and we're stuck. And that's kind of how it's been. I said, Sorrel, I don't have a higher resolution headshot. That's not what I've got. I don't have a one sheet. I don't have all that. If you want me as a guest on the Daily Huddle, here's what you got. Now, what can you do with what I already have, right? So Sorrel said, oh my God, Rose, would you be willing to tell that story on the Daily Huddle? Well, talk about freeze. And I was like, but you know what? I think it was Sheila James who said, a few days ago, right? What's your legacy? I honestly believe that the exercise, especially the signature exercise that I've put together for Blueprints for Excellence, could really help hundreds of entrepreneurs, singlepreneurs, small businesses, especially on the other side of COVID-19. Because, there are a lot of people who are asking themselves the question, what do I have left? But you know what? There's always something there to work with. There's always something. So I want to talk a little bit, about the exercises. But I'll get to that in a minute. One more quick thing I want to say, because after Sorrel laughed, right? And then he put together everything from what I had, right? He used what I had. And he put together that fabulous introduction in the bio, and he did all that. And I'm eternally grateful. I will use it forever from this point forward. Giovanni gave me bragging rights. I will take them. And when I got off the phone with Sorrel, something occurred to me that I had never seen before. So my dad was a genius. You know, I was a daddy's girl, and I used to say, my dad, right, is a jack of all trades, master of most. He was incredible. My dad could take things apart. And as he was taking them apart, he would discover how they actually worked, so that when he put things back together, they did work. And my dad had people calling and lined up all day, every day, all week, for as long as I knew. I mean, even the city that we lived in, when they had something they couldn't get to work, something physical that didn't work, and they were at their wits' end, they would call my dad. Well, I never connected before that I knew that what I did in corporate America was that I was able to take the vision of the senior executives in the company, and I could translate that down to the routines that even the clerks needed to perform in order to fulfill on that vision. What I didn't see was I was being my daddy's daughter. I was able to take things apart in a way that I could see how they would work, and then put them back together as routines and instructions and processes that would fulfill on the visions of the seniors. And I never even saw it quite like that until I had this conversation with Sorrel. So, you know, using what I already had to see what I could do. Okay, so here I am. So that's how it worked, you know, over at GE Financial Assurance. So now here we are. Blueprints for excellence, right? So Sorrel, you know, I sent you an addendum PowerPoint slide yesterday. Did you get that by any chance? Did you see that? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yes, I did get that. Would you like me to show it?
Could I show that picture of me working with you and Susan at QM3?
Do you have it to share, or do you want me to share it?
I would like you to share it.
Okay, I will look that up right now.
Okay, all right. So while Sorrel is doing that. So this is my signature exercise. And this is the first exercise that I did with QM3. And so you'll see Susan and Sorrel. And you may not know it's them, but it's them and some of their employees engaged in an exercise. And what we're doing is taking QM3 utility services, and we are completely deconstructing that business. That's the original file. There's a second file.
There's a second file.
There
Okay.
is. I do want to look at this. I want to get to this one. Let's see, where are we time-wise? Okay.
I'm gonna launch it very quickly.
Okay, do you see it there?
Da, 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 da.
All right, so this is a picture. This is a picture from the day that I walked into QM3, the day that I said I'm coming. And what you see on that wall, those are the tasks, and the elements of the business of QM3's utility business. And we created that wall of sticky notes in about maybe 30, 45 minutes tops, Sorrel. We talked
Yeah,
a little
about
bit with,
that.
we talked a little bit with the employees about what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, getting related, and then we launched the exercise. And I think we put that all that stuff up on the wall in about 30 or 45 minutes, right? And then Susan and Sorrel and I and other members of their leadership team started working with those elements. Would you show the second slide, Sorrel, in that same deck? And then and here's what we started to create. And it's visually interesting, right? That we took the elements from that wall and started doing this with it and looking at, you know, okay, what are the critical business processes? How do they flow? The little blue stickies are decision points, right? And we're making notes on either side so that, you know, we're starting to talk about, you know, who's the customer? What are their requirements? How are they being met? What inputs are needed? You know, we're actually starting to get into the first slide that you had from the other deck. So let's go to it. Thanks, Sorrel. That's really great. So this is what I was just starting to speak to, right? Everything happens in a process. I mean, the second slide in this deck is about making, when we don't have to go there, it's about making a cup of coffee. But you know, if you're making a cup of coffee, there's a process, you know? You take a filter, you measure the coffee, you measure the water, you turn on the pot, right? You pour the coffee, you serve. It's a process. You can do it the exact same way every time. You can do it different. You can measure the water and then put the filter and then, the, you know, whatever. This slide is just a high-level overview. It always starts and ends with the customer because you're providing a product or a service. Oh, thanks, Sorrel. Just really quick, right? That's the process to make the cup of coffee. But if you go back to the first slide, always starts and ends with the customer, right? So you're producing a product or a service. And in order to produce that product or service, you need inputs. And you get those from a supplier. Then you put those inputs through a process to generate an output. And then you want to check with your customer to make sure you're meeting your customer's needs. All right, so conceptually, that's how, at a high level, that's how process management works. But I thought it would be fun to kind of get it on the ground and get it related to what could you do with what you already have. So I thought we might play around just a little bit with the Daily Huddle. Right? So, okay. So the Daily Huddle is a conversation for possibility, right? So that the consumers of the Daily Huddle might hear something, see something, engage in an inquiry for the betterment of your personal life or your business. And so the end product is that conversation and that inquiry. And the customer, you know, are the people on this call. And Giovanni and Sorrel have an intention, right, to deliver that quality to the participants. And in order to do that, they have inputs. And they have a process, including sending somebody the requirements, you know, 48 hours before. Okay, I'm pulling your leg, right?
I know you are. Now, Rose, hang on one second, right?
Yes.
We're at 9:24, and given that we have 20 other participants on here, I want them to get a little piece of you by asking you some questions. Would that work?
It will work. Can I have 2 minutes?
All right, I'll give you 1.5.
Okay, 1.5. All right. So you have inputs. Your inputs are your speakers and your technology, right? So let's just say your technology got COVID-19. Let's just say the Daily Huddle was your bread and butter. and your technology got COVID-19. What are you left with? Your speakers. So what could you do with what you have? What could you do with your speakers? What if you created a sticky wall? How many editions of the Daily Huddle have you published so far?
This is number 17.
Okay, good. So what if you created a sticky wall and you put up those 17 speakers' names? And then underneath each one, you put up a major characteristic of that speaker. And then underneath that, you put up what was a really interesting or profound question or item that came up, point of, of the conversation that came up with that speaker. And then what if you put up the most interesting question that got asked during that session? And then you stood back and you started to look, what might you see? Your speakers are an asset of your business. So when you begin to deconstruct your inputs like that, or deconstruct the process that you use, or deconstruct the customers that you're reaching, who are you reaching? What do those people do? Why are they on this call? What kind of feedback have you gotten from them? If you start looking at those elements, what's the possibility that you could come up with something?
They're pretty high.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's step back. Yes, let's ask, what are people hearing? What questions might you have?
All right. Rose, thank you for creating that platform. And to all of you who are listening live, please unmute yourself and ask your questions, make comments. This is your opportunity to sink your teeth into creating magic out of what you already have.
Sorrel?
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
This is Tom Skaggs. I have an interesting experience. I had a heart attack and I was pronounced clinically dead in my vehicle before I destroyed my vehicle. And now I'm stuck. I don't know how to move forward. And I have cracked ribs and I'm hurting. And now I have no vehicle. I just don't know how to move forward from this. Aside from the physical pain, I hurt emotionally and mentally, and I don't know what to do.
Thomas, thank you for your courage and your generosity to share what's happening with you right now. And it just occurs to me that the very first thing that you need to do is take care of yourself. I would, I'm not a counselor of any kind, just a compassionate soul, but I would be more than happy to just have a one-on-one conversation with you. And I will put my information in the chat. And if that works for you, we can talk.
All right. I'm driven for success. I'm driven to make people's lives better. I want people to be happy and whole and complete. But I myself am not that right now. And I need to be that before I can have others say they can be that. And I know that. I want to get back there, whatever there is. And I don't even know how to do that anymore.
Yeah, I want to add something there, Thomas, and there. One of the things that I want to add, and I'll let you continue, Rose and Thomas, is that what you're representing right now is one of the most beautiful things I have encountered in my life, Thomas. You allowing yourself to reach out to a community who's cheering for you, but the what you just did, allowing yourself to reach out, is one of the most powerful things to do, that it's usually seen as not powerful. And so I want to acknowledge you for that. You certainly have the opportunity to speak with Rose, with Sorrel, and with myself in a one-on-one. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And thank you for leading that way for all of us, because I am clear that the people who are listening for the call, in this call, they are dealing with something themselves, but they never saw the courage, maybe as a point of leadership like you just represented. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And after the call, we're going to make sure that you have one-on-ones and a community that is there for you, and will give you the space to create magic with what you already have, because that's our commitment from this call. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. I don't know what I have anymore. I don't know if I have anything. I'm broken, and I want to heal.
Yes,
And
I have
I
no
want
doubt,
others to heal.
Thomas, I have no doubt you'll find the magic with what you already have. I have absolutely no doubt, Thomas, because you're in the inquiry that makes that happen, right? You're in that inquiry, so I have no doubt that will make it happen. And like Rose was saying, what Sorrel will tell you, that we're not therapists or counselors, but we do have a certain way to speak that will create a space for you to create the life you want. So that's all I wanted to add. Rose, go ahead. Sorrel, go ahead.
Well, Rose and everybody, it's 9:32. As you know, we respect your time and want to make absolutely perfect use of it. And we respect you as business people who are busy. And yet, I know you want a piece of Rose. So if you have more questions and you want to stay, and Rose, you want to grant us that privilege, we're going to stay on for one more question. And then we'll give you the last word, Rose. Who else has a question?
Hello, this is CC.
Hey, Cece, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for creating a space for us, and thank you, Rose, for speaking. I found it quite interesting. I'm trying to be real quick. I'm stuck in my business. I like to move forward, and one of the businesses that I have, I sell pound cake. So right now, people are not coming in anywhere to buy, but perhaps I'd love to sell the recipe to a Fortune 500 company. I have been in communication via email, phone, and all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm stuck.
Awesome, CC. So, I guess I'm just trying to think, and it's sort of like, I can't pull all the pieces apart that fast, right? But that's really where I would start. So I know that what you're saying is that you bake and you provide a pound cake and an item, and I would love to know how you were doing that and who you were doing that for and how successful you were, and deconstruct the elements of what you were already doing, so that we can look and see, okay, now what? Within those elements, right? You had a recipe, you had a process, you had a customer base. If we could pull that apart and look at the elements of that very carefully, I don't know what we might come up with, but maybe not just that recipe, but maybe other things. Like, people are sheltering in place. What could they do, for, oh my goodness, I know I'm yearning for yummy stuff to eat and do. So what could we do with that? That maybe it's a sheltering in place pound cake recipe that might capture attention or something. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming a little bit. But we would, we could have a conversation and we could deconstruct the pieces of what it is that you already do. And we could look to see how we could put it back together that would be totally appealing.
I would love that. Would you like my phone number?
I put mine in the chat. Please call me or email me.
Okay, but I can't see. I'm calling in, so I don't have a computer where I could see.
Got it.
You see?
I got
This
it.
is Sorrel. I'll make sure you have the information you need, so you may call Rose. And Rose,
Yes.
you have the last word before we close the huddle.
Well, I just really thank everybody who came on and stayed on. And thank you all for providing a safe space for me to just out myself a little bit, Like I said, if it makes a difference, if one person gets an idea, if, gets the support that they need to feel whole, gets the hope that they need, for the other side of what it is that we're all going through, then it was worth sharing myself with you. So thank you. Thank you for the safe space. And thanks. It was so great seeing and being with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you.
Thank you for confirming that each and every one of us already have what we need. And it is what we already have. And in your space, Rose, I can attest and be a testimony for that the process not only pulls out of me what I already have, but creates the space where I see the miracles that what I already have can be possible. And I leave with the courage to actually take the actions with producing that in my life. I'm immensely grateful to you and immensely grateful for the listening of the customers of the Daily Huddle and the Daily Huddle. I love each and every one of you. And Giovanni, I love you. Would you please say your last word, Giovanni?
Thank you, Sorrel. Thank you, Rose, and thank you everyone else who's on the call. Thomas, we love you. There is some contact information there, Thomas. I don't know if you can see it on the chat, but if not, I'll send it to you on our email. And for everyone else, one of the things that I got from Rose's unbelievable, beautiful process of Blueprint for Excellence was have the courage to paint, have the courage to pitch, have the courage to go back to the drawing board. Listen, there's always something there to work with. So I love you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Bye. Bye.